We're
Morning.
live.
All
How are
right.
you guys doing?
I'm pretty
Doing
good.
very good.
How are
Yeah,
you?
enjoying. Oh, yeah, I'm just double checking everything's good. Cool. John, where are you based?
Out of Germany.
Oh, cool. Are
Yeah, so
you
originally from Colorado, but live in Germany right now.
you like it?
Yeah, it's fun. I love being in Europe. I actually lived prior to being in Germany in the UK, and like that was a lot of fun. So lived there for about 4 years. Yeah, I like it. I like being in Europe. You can basically get on a flight and within 2 hours be anywhere.
Yeah,
It's really cool. Can't complain.
that's awesome. That's so cool. I went to Berlin last summer and it was really fun, of course. But only place I've
Of
been to
course.
in Germany.
No, I'm just around the Frankfurt area, so a
Okay.
little bit more central than Berlin. But yeah, I had go down to Berlin sometimes. There's a great Cosmos crowd there as well. So yeah,
Cool.
it's fun.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. I think we've been live for long enough that we can just go ahead and kick this off. So, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to some people who are joining as well. My name is Kenzie, and I'm on the marketing team at DYDX. So, I'm sure most of you know the DYDX chain has been recently released, and it is a standalone Cosmos app chain. And this was created to increase usability and decentralization of the DYDX trading experience. And trades on DYDX are settled in USDC. And now that DYDX chain is on Cosmos, it's really important that there's Cosmos native USDC. So we're super excited that Circle and Noble have teamed up to create Cosmos native USDC. And we're going to be talking today about their recently announced CCTP, which stands for Cross Chain Transfer Protocol. We'll get way more into it as this call goes through. But first off, let's kick it off with John from Noble. John, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey to Noble? And then we'll pass it over to Jonathan, who is project manager at Circle, to do the same.
Amazing. Yeah, so hi everyone. Great to be here. Obviously, I'm John from Noble. I am a fairly recent hire on the Noble side of things. I'm the director of engineering there. Prior to that, I've been in crypto for about 5 years in total. I actually, started out in the Ethereum ecosystems, doing a lot of things around smart contracts and, DEXs and whatnot. And also, after being in Ethereum for a while, also hung around the Arweave ecosystem, which is this permanent storage layer in some ways related to Filecoin as well. So hung around in both of those ecosystems for a good 2 years. Through that, I ended up creating another Cosmos chain, actually. It's called Kive. So I helped create and build that. It wasn't actually originally on Cosmos. It was actually an Ethereum application. So I actually have that experience of building on Ethereum originally and then migrating to Cosmos, just like DYDX. Obviously not scale of DYDX, but similar journey. And yeah, joined the Cosmos ecosystem 3 years ago. Helped launch Kive is an app chain in Cosmos. During that time, I was always really invested in the Cosmos ecosystem. I did lots of contributions to the Cosmos SDK, and yeah, just through all that, when Kive launched its mainnet, I started looking for other opportunities, and yeah, that's when I came across Noble. Because like you mentioned, Noble in partnership with Circle is helping issue native USDC and Cosmos. And that was just something that I really had to be a part of. And the Noble team is just incredible. It was just such a great fit. And so, yeah, that's just, how I got into, crypto and kind of my journey to Noble.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, Jonathan, do you want to give us a little bit of a background on you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jonathan Lim, product manager here at Circle. I work on the cross-chain transfer protocol, among other things. And been at Circle for about a year and a half now. Found my way here after a career working on products that are always kind of lower in the stack, AI related products, computer vision related products, and I've been following crypto for a long time and felt like this is not just the right time to jump in, but the right organization. So I really believe in in stable coins, generally speaking, and what they can provide to people. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Stablecoin market has increased, right, by orders of magnitude over the last 3 years. So it's been really exciting to be part of that journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for that quick intro. Maybe actually, I had some questions before, but I wanted to throw it to you, Jonathan. And could you just explain to me the process of issuing USDC and how Circle does that?
Yeah. So USDC is an ERC20 token, and up till now, well, I'll start with USDC specifically, right? The CCTP only works on chains where USDC exists.
Mm.
And in order for USDC to exist, Circle has to deploy a USDC contract to that chain. USDC mostly exists on the EVM, but we have a handful of non-EVM chains with native USDC issued, and Solana being one of them, Cosmos being one of them as well. So, we issue the USDC contract, and then native USDC exists on that chain, thereby allowing us to also deploy a CCTP contract that then enables seamless transfer of native USDC between chains that support CCTP.
Okay, cool. And then, John, why don't you dive into CCTP? So can you give us a quick introduction to Cosmos Native USDC, and then talk about what CCTP is and how this kind of differs from what was already going on before?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So Cosmos Native USDC is issued by Circle on Noble, our chain. And the way that it works is we've basically implemented a one-to-one replica of what Jonathan brought up, which is the ERC20 smart contract that Circle has deployed on Ethereum chains. So that basically follows the center token standard. And, like that has, the minters, the burners, all the different permissions. And so that was the start of the journey, which is, we're allowing Circle to have like direct access to the Cosmos ledger, with accounts and balances, etc., to just give Circle full control over the USDC denomination. And then like as more towards like when I started to join, like basically what happened was Circle, like we started talking to Circle, and CCTP is something that they're really excited about and focusing on as well. Because and like maybe Jonathan, you mentioned that you wanted to kind of cover a little bit about like what CCTP actually is. So maybe that would be a good like handoff to you there.
Yeah. So what was that? I heard a chime here. Okay. That was nothing. CCTP, cross-chain transfer protocol. That's a public permissionless on-chain utility that enables the flow of USDC across chains through native minting and burning. That's what these USDC and CCTP contracts ultimately enable, is burning or minting USDC. We built the CCTP to enable USDC to flow natively across blockchains, ultimately unifying liquidity across Web3 and simplifying and vastly improving user experience. Developers can embed the CCTP protocol within their apps, wallets, and bridges to allow users to move any amount of USDC to a supported blockchain, all in a permissionless manner at internet speed. And we've seen that Noble has done this, DYDX has done this, embedding the protocol within Cosmos apps. So with USDC serving as a universal liquidity layer, developers can build novel cross-chain apps that stack together various functionalities like trading, lending, payments, NFTs, gaming, and more, all while abstracting complexity away from end users, which is what we're really excited about.
Yeah, beyond just like complexity reasons, maybe we can do a little like 101 moment of why is it important that why are we moving towards native USDC versus just bridging, and maybe talk a little bit about bridging risk and how CCTP is different than just a typical bridge.
Yeah, definitely. So generally speaking, bridging up till now has been done through lock-in mint bridging, right? So because chains don't except for Cosmos and similar app chain ecosystems, EVM chains don't inherently talk to each other. You have to lock up assets on one chain and then message another chain and then mint a representation of those locked assets. So, locking and bridging carries a ton of risk because as long as you're using that represented asset, you have you have the native asset on the other side that is susceptible to hacking, and this has been proven as a risk, and everyone is ultimately trying to get away from it. Right? There's a lot of inertia in terms of how people use the ecosystem and use bridging, but I think that it's pretty well understood that there's a ton of risk around traditional locking bridges. So the CCTP flips this on its head and says, hey, why don't we get rid of the fact that there's anything locked up? We burn it, so there's nothing locked. So it's a burn and mint bridge in another, if you want to put it in other terms, right? And we completely eliminate that hacking risk that exists through locking and mint bridges. So CCTP, I'm not going to say there's no risk. There's no such thing as no risk. So if you ever hear that from anyone, that's a red flag. But the risk is orders of magnitude lower than the incumbent bridges.
Yeah, and I feel like you talked about this a little bit, but could you just explain how that burn and mint mechanism works to maintain fungibility of USDC across different chains?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So we have a contract on the source chain, and let's say Kenzie wants to send John 1,000 USDC. John is on Noble in this case. Kenzie, let's say you're on Avalanche. And what you would do is, using a third-party bridge app, you would initiate the transfer, which would initiate a burn on Avalanche, and the CCTP contract, which is a native USDC contract, would burn that 1,000 USDC, emit a message to Circle's attestation service. Circle's attestation service would sign that message, securely sign that message, and then the bridge app would move that message to Noble to John's address, which you had previously specified, and then John would open up his wallet and see that there was a transfer for him to accept. And once he does that, the Noble contract mints that 1,000 USDC, and you've effectively teleported native USDC across two chains.
Cool. Yeah, I guess maybe, John, this is a similar question for you, but what does that look like more from the user standpoint? Like if we're trying to get assets from, an EVM compatible chain to Cosmos ecosystem, how am I doing that? And how am I doing that?
Yeah, so I think from a user's perspective, it's super important to have solutions like CCTP in place. For example, for me, speaking from my own experience, and then of course, no user stays on one specific blockchain or just one specific ecosystem. You're always moving around. There's always something happening on an EVM chain. There's always something happening in Cosmos. And so what you normally have is these buckets of funds in various places and all these different chains that, because IBC has not been scaled to all these different various ecosystems, are not easily connected. And so as a user, let's say, for example, you want to go from Ethereum to DYDX, the new app chain. Well, the problem that you have there is you have a lot of USDC sitting on Ethereum. Obviously, you're just an individual. You're just a normal user, so you can't use Circle Mint, which would allow you to burn on Ethereum. You could either withdraw that to your bank account, or in this case, you would then withdraw on Noble. And of course, for the various reasons that Jonathan brought up, a kind of lock and mint bridge solution is just not ideal, because the assets are still technically on Ethereum and it's a non-canonical version. So as it stands right now, the Cosmos ecosystem has accepted native USDC on Noble as the canonical version across the entire IBC ecosystem. And so it just opens up a lot of challenges, which is why it's super cool. Within Ethereum finality time, you as a user can go from real, true, native, canonical USDC on one chain to another supported chain in a matter of a few minutes. And like that's what's really powerful for me, because you can have all these users that in your guys' case were previously using DYDX on like in the Ethereum ecosystem. They can just like instantly migrate over to Cosmos and specifically the DYDX chain.
Yeah. So where does that native Cosmos USDC live? Can it live in any wallet that I already have, or do I have to create some kind of new wallet in order to host that?
So the integration flow that we've done with your team has allowed a user coming from Ethereum to automatically log into like the DYDX app with like a normal Ethereum wallet using MetaMask, Rainbow, whatever wallet you use, and then basically it automatically generates this new DYDX wallet for you. And then because IBC is absolutely amazing, that's all you need to do. You don't need to create a Noble account, nothing like that. It's automatically like a direct flow where all you need to do is submit like one transaction on Ethereum, which would then automatically go to Noble. And then you just need to do a simple IBC transfer from Noble to DYDX.
Cool. Thanks for clarifying that. Jonathan, I think maybe this is for you. So what were some of the challenges you faced creating the first non-EVM implementation of CCTP? And did the EVM implementations help you, or was it kind of like, reinventing the wheel?
Yeah, I can touch on a bit of that, but also I think John is also well positioned to answer this, especially considering he's the expert on Noble here. Essentially we did have to start from scratch. The Cosmos ecosystem and EVM are very, very different. So all the way from issuing the native asset, that was different, to building the CCTP contracts, that's been different. And, we've had to work very closely with the Noble team. It certainly took longer than deploying to any EVM. And that will be true for any non-EVM, right? Not just Noble. So it was challenging, but I think it's been worth it. And we're super excited to launch here shortly, right? In a week or two.
Yeah, exactly, in 2 weeks. Just like briefly talking about like the Cosmos side of things. So obviously when migrating or implementing native USDC in Cosmos, we already built up a lot of experience of taking a pre-existing Ethereum smart contract and then converting that logic over into Cosmos. And so we took a lot of our learnings from that experience and then basically worked really hard with the Circle team and very closely as well, and basically came up with a very good design for a Cosmos module that mimics and basically implements the exact same interfaces that were implemented on the Ethereum side of things. So I wouldn't call it like complex or challenging or anything, but it was just like, it was just you need to take some time, think about the design, and really think which components you can just directly transfer over, and then what components are different, because Ethereum and Cosmos definitely have different things going on. So yeah.
Totally. How would you say that the Cosmos IBC transfer flow differs from other cross-chain transfer mechanisms, maybe in terms of user experience or efficiency?
So, okay. So like just talking about IBC here, or like CCTP plus IBC?
CCTP plus IBC.
Cool. Yeah, so you're probably referring to the application that we built on top of CCTP, which allows a user in one click on the Ethereum side of things to actually, basically it allows the user on Ethereum in one single transaction sign basically like an intent message for Noble to receive, which basically says, hey, I am burning my USDC on Ethereum. I want it to be minted as native USDC on Noble. And then after that, I want that to automatically be transferred via IBC somewhere. And so like, that application we're not launching on the 28th, that's coming later. But that's still, very useful, because now instead of, two actions where the user needs to first burn on Ethereum and then do the IBC transfer themselves, although in some cases that can be completely automated, and it has in a lot of, different applications. But like this is like the perfect solution, because then you can really go to any IBC connected chain, because I feel like we're one of the most connected Cosmos chains right now, because obviously everyone wants USDC. And so you could basically take your USDC directly from Ethereum and then in just one single transaction say and like, bring it to DYDX, bring it to Osmosis, bring it to the Cosmos Hub.
Totally. Yeah, I think I read somewhere that you guys are reaching over 50 different IBC connected blockchains, which is really cool. And I'm curious, maybe just talk a little bit more about like Noble's vision and how bringing Cosmos Native USDC and just like native asset issuance to Cosmos ecosystem kind of contributes maybe to this overall vision of interoperability.
Yeah. So kind of the goal of Noble, which, we're starting with USDC and, many assets coming soon. Basically, the goal here is to be the generic asset issuance chain in Cosmos. What does that mean? Basically, we want to take all of these tokens that previously Cosmos did not have any exposure to. I mean, you had various wrapped and bridged versions of USDC prior to this, but you never had true native tokens from these various other ecosystems like Ethereum. And so like that's basically our goal, is to be the generic asset issuance chain and help bring these tokens to Cosmos and have these tools and these wallets and these various user experience flows just pre-built for any asset issuer to just immediately use. For example, like I don't have the card around, but like I can buy a cup of coffee with Noble USDC right now. And like, that's super cool. And, we have partners like that working with us to enable that for like any Noble issued chain. And so, yeah, it's like, that's kind of our goal here. And then like, yeah, you mentioned interoperability. It's just like really important to, help bring all these users to Cosmos. And the best way to do that is they have all these tokens from all these different chains that they're familiar with, that they like working with, and just, help bring some of that liquidity into Cosmos, especially, in the case of DYDX. Like it has so many users and so much potential. Now that's in Cosmos, we need to help get all those users with all their tokens over into Cosmos.
Totally. Yeah. Just touching back on maybe your point about bringing other assets, is the goal here to do some kind of like permissionless system in which, like let's say like Optimism can then go and you don't have to build out all this infrastructure for them. There's already maybe a template set in place where they can do native issuance, or is it going to be similar to what you've done with Circle, which is, I'm assuming, a ton of work back and forth trying to get this native issuance happening?
So believe it or not, because the Circle token standard is like so well designed, a lot of other asset issuers use that by default, like a lot. And like that token standard. So by implementing the center token standard, that immediately allows a lot more asset issuers to just immediately use this. Sure, there's going to be a few edge cases, but in general, like kind of long-term, bringing a lot more assets, like bringing them to Noble, yeah, like there's definitely going to be some work. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily going to be permissionless. Permissionless, like asset issuance is actually quite hard, like in Cosmos specifically. And so, yeah, like I think like it's going to be more, tailored back and forth between all these various teams. But like, again, who knows? Like we're, still just starting this journey. Maybe at one point we have a permissionless system, but let's see.
Cool. That's really exciting. And yeah, I know we're running out of time, so I just wanted to throw it back to you guys and see if you had any last words you wanted to say about CCTP or Cosmos Native USDC. It's been a real pleasure having you on. I know it's kind of a short call, but yeah, throwing it over to you guys to just any last words. Let me see if we have any questions from the audience. I don't know if we have any. Somebody asked you, John, because you were said you were worked in Ethereum and now are working in Cosmos. They're curious which one you prefer and why.
Definitely Cosmos. Why? It's just personally, I find being able to like as a blockchain developer, right? Like as a user, it's a completely different story. But as a blockchain developer, instead of just being able to write smart contracts, which are quite limited to the amount of capabilities that they have, like when you're talking about like on the raw chain itself. And so like what I personally find quite interesting is like inside of Cosmos, you can just do so much more because you can literally pick and choose all these different modules and all these different components and basically like build your own perfect, world where like you don't need to prioritize one thing over the other. You can just kind of grab every single piece that you need and then really customize it completely. I mean, I think internally we were just talking about this actually yesterday. But like, for example, the new DYDX tokenomics, now that we're inside of Cosmos, like all the fees are going back to the stakers. That is just something that you can't possibly think of inside of Ethereum, but is super easy and actually quite common inside of Cosmos. And so really like Cosmos and, building inside of Cosmos because you can just enable a lot of these cool use cases and features.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. I think it's super cool. I love just like the customizability that you can have. I think that's really exciting. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Jonathan from Circle and John from Noble, it's been great having you here. Thank you for sharing your insights. And I hope everybody learned a little something. I know I did. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Bye.